tell us about where you are right now in life, Steve, like physically. And I know you're about to go through a huge change, like tomorrow. Tell us about that.
I'm on this beautiful island called Pine Island in Southwest Florida. I was working on a coconut farm, and
I was also working at the coconut farm. Steve invited me and got me hired.
yeah, so this experience has been really interesting. Unfortunately, it didn't work out with the owner here in terms of like the benefit that I was receiving, the compensation that's necessary in this world. I don't for money, like it's just the way it is. Like there's a labor rate and everything like that. And I can't, as much as I want to help this whole place and just work on this whole farm and clean up all the coconut trees and do all the work they want me to do, there was not enough compensation, and there was a lot of red flags with how he was doing business, which I wasn't happy with. So I'm moving on for the better, you know. And it's very hard for me to not want to help people or help the land or anything like that.
Right. I mean, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous island. This island, Pine Island, it's a special place. In all of Florida, I've never been somewhere that is so full of nature. It's like most of Florida these days has been torn apart by developments and by hotels, all the coastline covered in hotels. This island is like a hidden green gem, untouched. You know, there's farms out here, but yeah, I mean, it's been a special experience out here. But yeah, please share with us, where will you be going next, Steve?
So I will say one thing about Pine Island.
Please.
It has it's a 16 mile wide from north to south, 16 miles drive. It's like a straight road that goes in between, and it has no traffic lights. There's like a middle stop, 4-way stop, but that's about it really. And that's why I like it. It's quiet, it's peaceful, and they have apparently. I'll have to do the double checking fact research on this, but I think it's only your buildings are only 2 stories high maximum here on Pine Island. So
nice.
There's a lot of agricultural land and just beautiful. Yeah,
a lot of farms. It seems like everybody on the island for the most part is like anti-government, very like freedom-oriented community on the island.
There's a lot of that, and there's lots of artists here, and there's a lot of just cool people, retired people, but people who want to get away and just from. I'm going to be heading to New York, though I'm a traveler, so I will continue to travel, and I'll probably be back to Florida in the winter or another location in the winter. So what I'm doing is to get by financially, I'm just going to work at a post office, like part-time, which is just, I'm happy with like doing that service to get by like financially for bills and stuff. But that's not my main concern. Like, that's a great thing to do, and I'm happy with that. But I'm actually going to be doing a lot of video editing, spreading the word about Tartaria and our true potential as humans. Or not even humans, what do you call it? I don't know. It's true like gods, man. Almost. Like
true man.
I consider like that we have dominion over like so many things which we don't take ownership over. So
that's interesting.
Like saying like I'm actually responsible for like the weather. Like how do we interact with the weather? I know you know a lot about that. How do we interact with the weather, right? How do we interact with the plants and stuff? Because my idea of farming and stuff like that is that I don't even like farming. I like growing a garden for the beauty of it, but not for the necessity of the food. That's what I think. It's not. The thing is, I really think that when you become dependent on, like, I need the food, it becomes like a job and a work and a slavery. But if you just say, I want a garden because it's beautiful and I like to eat fruit occasionally maybe, or you don't even have to eat the fruit. You can just watch. It's just like the interaction with the soil and how trees grow. It's just like watching yourself grow. Like it takes time, and you have to really have a communion with the plant, and you have to like give it the right conditions, and you learn a lot metaphorically. You learn so much about yourself spiritually as you grow, like fruits and stuff like that. But you don't grow it, and like I'm not gonna ever grow in a way that's for mass production, because I don't think we need to mass produce. I don't think that's a necessity for humans. We need to actually get away from mass production. Towards like just maybe you can own, if you want to own a garden, great, but not everyone even has to own a garden. Like I know some spiritual people say, oh, everyone has to grow their own food. That's the only way. It's like not really. You can still be happy and fine without that, So.
Well, that's really cool. That's a great perspective. And yeah, that like entirely shifts the idea of what a garden is supposed to be. Rather from being like a way to harvest plants for food or for medicine, it becomes more of a consciousness-focused evolution. Something that has more to do with the spirit. And in regards to breatharianism and fasting, there is a lot of information out there. It's kind of hard to find at first, but there's a lot of information out there about like how one can actually achieve breatharian practice, and how one can exist not by taking in food, but still by taking in life energy, and not in a consuming or eating way, but in like the way of the plants are emanating this quality of life, and as they're growing, they're like filtering the air, filtering the water and things, and the beautification of the area of the garden actually becomes sustaining to life. The actual beauty, the actual consciousness that's coming from the plants.
Okay, all right. So you're, I can see. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Yeah, is there a question that can continue on and expand upon it? Because that I'm online with what you're saying.
That was kind of like
it's beautiful what you just said.
Kind of like my little tidbit there. Maybe something for you to think about more, and we can discuss this further in the future. But I do want to stay focused like on the Canary Islands story for today, because I feel like you have a lot more to say there.
By the way, the pictures that are going to be circulating on this interview are from the Canary Islands.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I do want to tell you about La Gomera, one of the islands I was on. So La Gomera was this beautiful island with a population of 20,000. So it's a very small island. It is one of the 7 Canary Islands. And you can only get there by ferry. I mean, yes, small planes can go, but no like big, giant, corporate, planes can get there. So I took a ferry from one of the bigger islands to get there. And I will say that it's like a biosphere world reserve. Like it's very protected by like people that really are saying like you can't mess with it. The government actually was doing great at like preserving it. Like I did hike through it at one point, and they were saying with my backpack, and it's a visible like little like circular mat, like that's obvious for sleeping. Like I was like, hey, no sleeping here. Like I was like, okay. Because it's actually not supposed to tent there, because they don't want to disturb everything. They don't want to just allow camping, because that's going to start creating like a mess and stuff.
Right.
Even if people have the most mindful intention, So I did end up hiking the whole island. in a big circular motion. It took me 10 days, and that was one of the best experiences I ever had.
Wow.
Because it was so freeing, because it was a backpacking, and just solo, and then I could just camp at the beach, or I could just camp. I just basically set up camp whenever I got tired at the end of the day. I'm like, okay, I hiked 10 miles today. I'm happy with that, And by the end, I got to 14 miles, and I was upping a little bit every day because there's a lot of weight to carry. I had all my tent gear, but the one thing I didn't really carry was water. Because of my new revelations of the fasting group, I could just drink my urine. I also can stop and get juice. Like, there was enough little towns where you could stop and get a juice, whatever. But I didn't carry water with me. Like, I wasn't that concerned about that. It was like, I pretty much got rid of that concern of, like, where am I going to get my water from? You can stop and
water is such a heavy thing to carry,
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And I'm, like you said, 14 miles was your longest distance you
The
hiked
last day, I got so happy. I hiked 14
Wow.
miles with my big pack and everything.
That's impressive.
I had a little solar panel, too, for charging my phone. And, by the way, if you want to go traveling like this, it was really cool. It was really cheap to get like on a cell phone plan when I got over there. It was like you can just pay for like a certain amount of data or whatever for like $10 or something. It was so cheap. It was so
nice.
It was so great. It was so easy. My friend just showed me that. So.
How was the signal on the island? Was it a 4G signal?
I think it was 4G. Most of the time, I actually got
5 bars. 5 bars, like a strong signal.
Not usually, but it was enough bars to.
Were you able to identify any towers?
You know what? I really didn't see any cell phone towers much.
Well, that's cool. That's good.
But I know that they were there.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I want to focus on 14 miles without eating and without having...
Well, I was eating.
You were eating. Okay, you ate a little.
I stopped and I would eat some stuff.
Okay. What was kind of your diet that you would have in between your days of fasting?
So I actually did 1 month of no salt and all raw.
All raw.
One month I didn't eat a single, except a beet. I remember it was a beet I ate one time.
A raw beet or a cooked beet?
It was cooked.
Okay.
But that's why the rest of the stuff was all raw.
Wow.
Like, there was a lot of dried fruits, a lot of dried figs and dried dates. And there was a lot of fresh fruit, too. Lots of orange juice. Lots and lots of orange juice.
Grow on the island there?
Lots of fruit grows on the island.
So you can pick the fruit while you're out and hiking in the woods?
I didn't actually pick any fruit, really. Though we did stay at this little cave, a little beach area, that if you hiked another mile or two up a little cliff on the other side, or maybe 3 miles, there was a fruit eco village.
Oh, cool.
But it was like up a huge little ravine and then on the other side. Okay. So it's a day hike.
Pretty difficult to get there.
Yeah. So we ended up going there once and I got a tour. It was really cool.
Wow.
So I ate, the one point was like, I know it was a whole fasting thing, but I did get to the point where I was eating, and I hate, I would have gotten a lot farther evolutionary if I didn't do this, but it's okay. I don't judge myself too harshly about this, but I started eating the Spanish food there. It was cooked Spanish food.
I bet that was so good.
It was good, It was, they have this thing called tortilla española. It's like, basically it's potatoes and eggs and like an omelet, but it was like a Spanish style. And it was really good with like a little spinach or something and maybe a little tomato. And it was just like, so I got kind of hooked on that. But the thing is that I would hike 5 miles essentially to eat food.
Wow.
And I would never bring any food back with me. So I would eat my food during the day, maybe eat some sandwich or whatever, and then I would go back and I would get like at least 5 miles hike at the end of the day. So I was racking up miles and miles of hiking. Like, I was getting extremely fit despite my eating,
So this must have had a positive change on your physiology as a whole. Like, looking back and where you are now, what are some of the benefits that you've noticed from this experience?
Well, being there for like nearly 3 months on the same island, I realized how fun life can be on such a limited amount of money. And like how far you can, like how free can you be? It was a testing of freedom for me. And I'm a life path 5 and I'm interested in freedom. That's very important for me. So I got to experience a certain level of freedom that most people, I don't think, maybe I'm just generalizing here, but I don't think a lot of people have gone like, let's say, that long when they get to travel on vacation. Most people go on vacation for a month or two, or not even a month or two. I mean, like a standard American vacation is like 2 weeks, So I just like happy to say I could go longer and just experience like, I'm on vacation, but I'm also living my life, just experience freedom, And, I had a very limited amount of money, unemployment is pretty low. Like, it's a little bit, but it lasted me, so I...
So that almost brings up the idea of, 3 months is a pretty long time to be, by American standards at least, to not be working a job, to not be out there, hustling, grinding, trying to pay bills and stuff. Do you almost feel like you shifted into another timeline?
In a sense, yes. Yeah. I would say, yeah. I think I'm on a certain timeline now where I won't go back to a certain level of 9 to 5. I'd say I'm a hard worker, and I have a passion for life, but not in the way that society, not in any way that society. I'm here to bring a whole new paradigm. So it's
wonderful.
Like, I'm really, sometimes I feel lazy. Other times I say I'm a hard worker, and I think generally I'm a hard worker. So, but I stay away from the Matrix timeline. So I think it did help me jump to a different whole timeline where it doesn't, like, if I were to work a regular job, it just wouldn't make sense. I'd literally be sick because my body, I just know too much now. I'm just at a different level now.
That's good. That's
level jumping
good.
Or timeline
that's
jumping.
An extremely important thing to become aware of, is like the value of your own spirit and your time. And I can say, from working with you, when you're motivated to work, or when even if you're not like even that motivated to work, but when you start working, you've been working hard. Like trimming these coconut trees, you go at it, no doubt. And it's pretty inspiring to see like your work ethic, even in the face of other circumstances. Like, you fully threw yourself into working on the trees because of your connection to nature and wanting the trees to do well. So whether or not you may sometimes feel lazy, I think it just has more to do with that revelation that you had, that realization that you're not able to take part in the sick society because you're no longer sick in your spirit. You've expelled that from yourself through this trial and many others, this fasting journey. It seems like this was such a pivotal change, in your life for the better.
I feel like it was, and I'm moving forward. I always remember that. Yeah, it was such a big experience for me, and it continues to like guide me. Like thinking back to that trip and thinking how much I've moved forward is like it's just very motivational just to think about my experience and just think about what it took to get there and what I experienced, which was so beautiful. And there was, of course, challenges even there too, and there and here, and there's continual challenges, but it's not about looking at those challenges and getting frustrated. It's more about looking at it from a perspective of, wow, I did that. Just like, wow, I can do it. Wow, it's motivation saying, I did that. What else can I do?
Okay,
if I did,
cool.
What kind of challenges can I continue to break the barriers on?
That's awesome.
How can I move forward? And we're about 26 minutes in.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're still recording there. Yeah. Good. Well, I mean, that's such an amazing perspective shift and like tool in your spiritual arsenal to have the ability to look back and say, I went through this challenge that was so great, this thing that I pushed myself past my limits and completely had a great time doing it. And it makes the humdum drudgery of like a modern American lifestyle pale in comparison, to like not eating for days on end and hiking 14 miles without water, in a tropical environment. And these are things that most Americans would be awestruck and like not believe is possible, even though it's something that you've experienced yourself.
Yeah. One thing about it is when you're out there doing it, it's like I was dreaming about more travel. Like I had the best dreams about travel when I was staying on one of the beaches there on one part of the island. I was laying in my little tent, and I was like, man, I was writing up a whole script of how I can travel the world and how I can, like, I was so inspired to travel more because I love the fact that, like, first of all, you got to have a healthy body to travel. And if you learn how to like take care of your health, and the point is not to just take care of your health, the point is to reverse aging and actually delete the idea of aging. Delete the idea of aging in our consciousness. The fact that, like, it's a program, And if we actually don't accept it, and I sound arrogant to some people, and I sound like a god maybe, and I sound like a retard, or whatever I sound like, it doesn't matter anymore. We actually can decide how much we age, and actually we can actually become youthful. We can actually take part in our own youthening process, because we're started as a kid full of energy, and then they force food on us. Most kids didn't want to eat. I would dare to say almost every kid did not want to eat, and then it was a process that got indoctrinated into us. And so, remember, kids want to play, and then their parents say, "Time to eat dinner," and they bring them in from that play state into the, and that's how we kind of our consciousness kind of went down a little bit, as kids.
That's